As we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
This House is in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 6 January 2026 will be deferred. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be deferred. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby deferred.
Announcements by Your Honor, the Speaker. Messages from His Excellency the President, petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42 subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The Speaker revert to papers.
Honourable Member for St. Michael, West Central.
Government business, sir.
Government Business is the order of the day.
Order number 8, in the name of the Honourable Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, to move the passing of a resolution to rescind a resolution passed by the Honourable the House of Assembly on the 19th day of July 2022 and the Honourable the Senate on the 10th day of August 2022 and published in the Official Gazette as resolution number 17/2022 on the 18th day of August, approving the vesting in the National Housing Corporation of 2 parcels of land situate at Sergeant's Village in the parish of Christchurch in this island for a public purpose, namely housing development.
Honourable Member for St. Michael West.
Mr. Speaker, I beg the House to debate order number 8 and number 7 as a cognate debate, as they're inextricably linked.
The question is that order 8 and 7 be debated as a cognate debate, given the fact that they're inextricably linked. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. Our member, St. Michael West.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to correct our records, provide legal clarity, and advance our housing agenda. We are asking this Honourable House to rescind Resolution number 17, 2022, and second, to approve an amended resolution to vest 2 parcels of land totaling 7,021 square meters situated at Sergeant's Village, Christchurch in the National Housing Corporation for the purpose of a housing development. Mr. Speaker, the background of these 2 actions are that in May 2021, Cabinet approved the acquisition of 2 adjoining parcels at Sergeant's Village for housing. This action reflected government's commitment to accelerate the delivery of affordable housing for Barbadians. The Cabinet approved the acquisition of 2 lots, property of Miss Marjorie Payne and Mr. Jermaine Atkins, for housing purposes. Mr. Speaker, these parcels were surveyed and a certified plan recorded, ensuring the site was ready for development in an orderly and transparent manner. The state completed the acquisition of these parcels on December 2021. The lands were vested in the state shortly thereafter, confirming public ownership for the purpose of housing. Mr. Speaker, this has always been the strategy of this government, this parliament, and the Ministry of Housing to use state land, identify appropriate state lands to be vested in the National Housing Corporation for the purpose of housing, previously by the NHC actively participating in development. In recent times, the Cabinet has directed the Ministry of Housing through the National Housing Corporation to engage in joint partnerships, in JVs, joint ventures, to employ a more industrial approach to the building of housing. Quite frankly, sir, Barbadians cannot wait any longer for affordable housing. By employing this strategy, we will ensure that Barbadians can own a piece of the rock and that we can accelerate our programs. This particular site was identified as exceptionally suitable for low-income housing. And when we talk about low-income housing, we're talking about Barbadians who are looking for a house below $150,000, below $200,000. We're talking about gas station attendants. We're talking about those Barbadians that have been frustrated by the process. And on becoming the Minister of Housing, Mr. Speaker, this will be my sole mission to empower those Barbadians to acquire housing so that those Barbadians can have title. They can go out and get a loan. They can go and help their children to enjoy further education. This is what the Barbados Labour Party-led government is about, Mr. Speaker. So as such, this particular site has a development of 8 duplex units being erected and are at the finishing stage, Mr. Speaker, with provision for 4 single detached units, accommodating 20 low-income families when complete. And with everything going according to plan, Mr. Speaker, I am enthusiastic about this development being handed over to Barbadians in the South at the end of January, sir. This is a tangible step for those most in need and a concrete step towards closing our housing gap. So, Mr. Speaker, why must we rescind? In 2022, Parliament approved Resolution number 1722 to support vesting for housing development. It was passed by the House on July 19th, 2022. The Senate on August 10th, 2022, assented on August the 15th and published on August the 18th, 2022. Mr. Speaker, regrettably, after publication, errors were detected. Now, Mr. Speaker, I am certainly not ashamed to come to this House to admit that the National Housing Corporation was inadvertently omitted as a vesting entity. And I say so because we have the opportunity to empower Barbadians with housing at the end of this month in Sergeant's Village. And if I have to come to this honorable House to correct a wrong, sir, I will do so, because this is the honorable thing to do, to deliver housing solutions to our Barbadians, sir. It also described the parcels as still belonging to the private individuals, despite the state's prior acquisition in December 2021. These errors create an unavoidable uncertainty and must be corrected to ensure that the NHC can proceed without legal ambiguity. Sir, it must be done, and we will do it. Actions taken on March 20, 2025, the Cabinet agreed to rescind the earlier decisions and bring forward an amended resolution vesting the full 7,021 square meters at Sergeant's Village in the National Housing Corporation, sir. The Attorney General has certified that resolution to rescind and to vest are in order to be considered by this honorable House. This step is not merely administrative, but it moves us closer, as I said before, to affordable housing, delivering quality homes that hardworking Barbadians can afford, and accelerating the pipeline of units under construction, sir. Reducing inequality, prioritizing low-income families and first-time owners. Now, this is key. First-time owners must be included in the mix. And every development that we have coming forward, whether it's at Bullings, which should be ready in the middle of this month, sir, 20 units to those Barbadians in the parish of St. James. Sir, I hope to have these openings coming one after the other. I look forward to delivering these solutions and also to include in our social housing program what we call rent-to-own. This rent-to-own program will be included in every development. And I am pleased to say to this honorable House that you don't have to bring a mortgage certificate to get a rent-to-own. That is not our intended target market. This social program is intended to help Barbadians that are working but cannot necessarily get a mortgage certificate that will allow them to get into a home on a normal basis. So this is very important that we employ this strategy, because the same gas station attendants, these type of workers can benefit, and they will pay. All we need to know is that they are working, that they have a job. So this will empower the vulnerable groups, ensuring that our most vulnerable, single parents, so much of our communities, in the communities of St. Michael West, St. Michael West Central, St. Michael South Central, we are acutely aware, sir, that our communities have many single mothers who are trying their best to provide for their children with minimal help. We must protect these individuals and ensure that they can be a part of the housing resolution, sir. Persons with disabilities, sir, we want to be able to have housing available for them. Dignified housing and the stability that it brings. Sir, these objectives reflect what has been articulated at the highest levels to undertake the most ambitious housing program thus far. Bring an end to these long waiting lists. So people are tired of waiting. And I am cognizant of the frustrations that our people have had previously. And while we look forward, sir, I am looking in the rearview mirror as well, because we will not leave out Barbadians in the housing estates. As such, the Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance will undertake a tremendous strategy to repair roofs, making sure that our housing estates have the required resilience so that they can be comfortable that when the hurricane season hits, that they would not have to worry as much about leaking roofs. This will be undertaken in this financial year and the next. We will also go on a beautification drive within the estates. Because as I said before, I am looking squarely in the rearview mirror as well as looking forward. And our citizens in the housing estates must feel as though they live in areas that are beautiful, that are dignified. And I am aware that whenever I drive past NHC, in or out, and I go towards Bridgetown, and I pass Country Park Towers, and I look at the duplexes, and I see that they're in, they require a paint job. And when I go into Kensington Lodge and visit our citizens in there, I am aware that it is in need of urgent repair and beautification, sir. I can't be at NHC in an office at the Ministry of Housing sitting down, and there are estates in my vicinity, and I have to pass these estates every day looking like this. So we are committed, sir, in this financial year and the next to repair these at Stewart's Lodge as well, at Haynesville. We will undertake this, sir. In addition to that, the vision includes leveraging partnerships to build thousands of homes and also utilize renewable energy, sir. This will be a big part of our agenda going forward. I do recognize the challenges before, especially with being able to grid tie. I, sir, was looking forward to having, in a previous life, a grid tie connection on my business, only to be told by the Barbados Light and Power that I could not do so because of the instability on the grid, sir. So we look forward to not only including resilience in our housing stock, but also to participate in the circular economy, sir. And that means working with the Ministry of Energy to get a carve-out so that we can implement this strategy again using battery technology, utilizing solar farms, community farms, sir. And this will be done so in collaboration with the Development Bank, sir. We've already engaged CAF, the World Bank, and the IADB in this pursuit. Sir, with that said, the resolutions before the House. Resolution 1, to rescind Resolution number 17, 2022, as published on August the 18th, 2022, to correct and record and remove ambiguity. And Resolution 2, approve the amended resolution to vest a total of 7,021 square meters at Sargent's Village, comprising of 2 parcels in the National Housing Corporation for public purpose, is before the House. As I close, colleagues, this is a straightforward corrective step, but with far-reaching implications and benefits. By regularizing the vesting and empowering the NHC to proceed, we put families first, accelerate housing delivery, and honor our commitment to affordable housing, fairness, and community. I respectfully ask for your support to rescind this resolution and to approve the vesting so that we can move swiftly to empower Barbadians, as is our mandate as a Barbados Labour Party government. With those few words, I do beg that this resolution do pass.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. As you are aware, sir, I listen to everything that is said in here, including the prayer. And I'm always grateful to the chaplain for the prayers that he offers. And this morning's prayer was one of those that really lifts the spirit. The only regret is that that prayer was said in the presence of only 13 members of the government. I don't know if it's an atheistic government, but I want the people of Barbados to be aware, and I say this in all seriousness every week that I come here. Every week that I come here, I am going to reflect on the number of government members who are in this House. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the Honourable Member for St. Michael West. He's new to the ministry. And as I have reflected prior hereto, on behalf of the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, who quite often comes here and addresses the Parliament with 8 or 9 of his colleagues present, and I want the people of Barbados to know this is not to shame this government, but I want the people of Barbados to know that this is a government that is delinquent in its attendance at this Parliament. The people of Barbados elected 30 of us. And unless there's some good excuse from week to week, the prayers of the chaplain must be said to a Christian Parliament of 30 persons present. It's no joke. It is not a joke. This Parliament has a duty to be fully constituted every week. And a prayer said in here this morning, and 13 government members are present, excluding you, Your Honour. You make the 14th, but you're the Speaker. And that is a complaint I will make from week to week. It matters not to me how upset it makes them. But this Parliament is the government's contact with the people of Barbados. And I'm not permitted by the rules to name those who are absent, and I will not do so. But I'm going to insist every week until they call the election, which is now inevitable because the government has lost its stamina to run this country, every week. And every time I begin a speech, I am going to reflect on the number of the members that the government is sending to this Parliament in breach of its covenant with the people of this country to speak to the people through this Parliament. The people of this country are not attendant at cabinet meetings. They are attendant here with their ears. And when those prayers are said, More than 13 ought to be in here. I've seen this parliament start with 9 government members. Perhaps the numbers are improving.
Mr. Speaker, please.
Honourable
The honourable member continues to mislead this honourable chamber. I believe that the honourable member himself should remember his tenure under the Labour Party for more than 5 years, where he never came to this honourable chamber, sitting at the back with me.
Honourable, please have a seat.
Take your place. Discipline is the order of the day in this honourable chamber. Mr. Speaker, sir, the honourable member sat at the last chair seat, and I sat next to him for more than 5 years. He never came to this honourable chamber, Mr.
This is not a point of order. This is not a point of order. I'm not putting up with foolishness anymore in here. This is not a point of order.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
History of my attendance, what? This is not a point of order.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for...
Honourable for St. Thomas, please, hold on.
Thank you, sir.
Honourable member for Christchurch
I
South.
respect every... Sorry.
Honourable member for Christchurch South. I determine what is the point of order.
As
Continue,
it
honourable
pleases
member.
you, sir. If you can't come in, I can say.
Continue, honourable member. Continue, honourable for St.
Thank you
Thomas.
very much. Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't want to digress. I have been in an institution called a school for 25 straight years. Discipline has been the order of the day with children and in households. And this honourable chamber demands...
Honourable member for Christchurch South. Honourable for St. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr.
Take
Speaker.
your point of order,
I just
please.
wanted to... I will conclude without wasting the time of this honourable chamber, sir, to indicate that while I sit in the second last seat on this side, and the honourable member for Christchurch South sat next to me, the honourable member for the 5 years has never been in this chamber before 2 o'clock any day for any session. And we are not going to be reflecting. I believe discipline is the order of the day in this chamber, sir. And that is why I come early, because of my training with Cub Scouts and Brownies. And I believe that the honourable chamber, being a legal person, should be the one who should be helping to display the highest standards of respect in this honourable chamber. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the privilege.
Continue, honourable member for Christchurch.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I ruffled. I'm sorry that I ruffled the feathers of the Cub Scout and the Brownie in here.
All right, continue, honourable member, please.
Thank you. The point is made, though. The point is made. The people of Barbados now know that this is a delinquent government. Not only is it a lazy...
Honourable member, please stick to the resolution before this chamber.
Yes,
please.
this is all introductory.
Please.
They're embarrassed.
Honourable member, please stick
They
to
are
the
embarrassed. They are embarrassed. Not only are they lazy, but they're delinquent. And I haven't spoken about incompetent. You're going to hear me today. Put on your seatbelt. Put on your seatbelt.
Honourable members, please speak to the resolution before this chamber.
I don't care who grumble. I don't care who grumble. Sit and hear me today. In your numbers, depleted as they are. Never sat next to her yet.
Honourable member, please resort to the resolution before this chamber.
Now, I will come to the resolution proper. I was merely introducing to the public of this country how this parliament is treating the people of Barbados. That it seems that attendance here is optional. It is not optional.
Honourable member,
I am
honourable member,
on the resolution.
Please speak to the resolution.
The honourable member for St. Michael West came here this morning. It is one of his earlier. Now, sucking of the teeth is the ultimate discourtesy.
Honourable member.
I heard it and you heard it.
Honourable, please speak to the resolution. Please.
I don't know which of your ears is the better one. If it is the right ear that is better, I'm sure you heard the second of the
Honourable member, please speak to the resolution. Please, please.
No, wow. Y'all are ill-mannered. Y'all are ill-mannered. You don't even have enough courtesy to come to the parliament in full numbers. I'll get to the resolution now, sir. And I will say to you that this is one of the earlier presentations by the honourable member for St. Michael West on a resolution, and he has not been given the courtesy of adequate attendance. That's what I'm saying.
Honourable member,
I'm on the resolution.
please, please, collide with the resolution, please.
I'm colliding with the resolution now. The honourable member came here today, according to him, to confess. Well, he used the word admit. And sometimes an admission is synonymous with a confession. He said he admits the errors in things done in the past. And I'm going to begin there. The honourable member came here today and said that he admits to the errors, and that his admission is the honourable thing to do. He will not answer no, but it is incumbent upon the honourable member for St. Michael West to say to the people of Barbados who committed those errors in his confession, what are those errors? This is the Ministry of Housing, and the people of Barbados now know that the Ministry of Housing, prior to this honourable member's accession to the office that he now holds, has been one of the public embarrassments of this government, but it is not the only one. This government likes to hide behind the several failures of the Ministry of Housing. And you will hear me say very shortly, who gave the $60 million? And I say gave. Who gave the $60 million to the Ministry of Housing? When I talk about delinquent, I will add to it corruption. And the people of Barbados will not be allowed to forget that this government, this cabinet, to cut $60 million out of the Housing Credit Fund and give it to a Ministry of Housing. And to this day, that money has not been properly accounted for. It is a blot on the affairs of this country. It is a blot on this government's administration. But of course, we stand indebted today that the honourable member says he confesses. He confesses to the errors, and confession is the honourable thing to do. We are grateful for the confession. But I have another question for the honourable member. The honourable member said, and I quote him, "I am not ashamed to admit that the NHC was inadvertently omitted." Now, if you have a confession that the NHC was inadvertently omitted, we, the people of Barbados, want to know, together with the omission by inadvertent, so claimed, of the National Housing Corporation, who was the party whose name was inserted on the original resolution? Don't be rude, honourable member. Let me make my speech. Don't be rude, because you're not going to stop me from telling the people of Barbados the truth. And you're not going to prevent me from asking the honourable member for St. Michael West, with his confession that in 2021, the name of the National Housing Corporation, according to him, was inadvertently omitted from the resolution. Tell the people of Barbados, what is the name of the entity whose name was inadvertently included? Was it Hope? Is this a government now that sends this innocent young man called the Minister of Housing in here today to confess and to apologize and to seek atonement for the past wrongs of a government. Ask the Minister of Housing 5 years later, what is the name of the party that was inserted on the resolution? There's no atonement. There's no atonement 5 years later for putting in the name of the National Housing Corporation to save this government's face for the earlier corrupt act of putting the name of an entity which, in all the circumstances and in all the events that this country has seen, an entity that now must stand condemned for having squandered the monies of the people of this country, $60 million. And the word squandered is a very gentle verb. There's perhaps another verb, but I'm going to give the evidence. And I'm going to let the jury of public opinion decide whether this government is guilty only of squandermania or whether there is a more serious charge. Your Honor, I ask you to appeal to the Honourable Member for St. Thomas to let me say what I am saying in silence, according to the rules of this House. Let me say what I am saying in silence. We have had a confession in here this morning, we have had an apology, and we have had a statement of what the Honourable Member claims is honor. The honor of confession, the honor of shame. I'm going to ask the question again on behalf of the people of Barbados. This government, a few years ago, there's a history to this. This government a few years ago was making redundant the National Housing Corporation, that's a fact. The name of the National Housing Corporation was being routinely, systematically, and methodically and deliberately removed from land acquisitions in this country in favor of an entity called Hope. In the proved scandal of Hope, this government is now reversing, quietly reversing from those scandalized entities, because it is not only Hope. It extends to the millions of dollars in equipment that rusted in the grass at 6 Roads. And I'm going to give larger context by way of anecdote. Yesterday, don't mind saying this, and I'm going to say it, tighten your seatbelt. I'm going to give you a long flight of this government's corruption. Oh, wow. You're going to hear it today. You don't want to hear about this government's corruption? You call in an election, call it. Yesterday, I went to a place called Poulan in St. John. Who wants to get nervous about that? Let them get nervous. I went to a place called Poulan in St. John, Your Honor. They're not going to distract me, you know, Your Honor, by bad manners. And I am not going to appeal to you to ask them to show some courtesy. That is a discretion you have, whether you exercise it or not. They're not going to distract me. Now I went to Poulan in St. John, and I spoke not only to residents, but I spoke to homeowners at Poulan, and those homeowners have built houses on lands conveyed to them by the National Housing Corporation on or about the year 2013. Treat the years as being significant. On or about 2013, some of the residents of Poulan in St. John, I think it is number 1, had lands conveyed to them by National Housing Corporation, and it stands to reason, Your Honor, that if the National Housing Corporation in 2013 or thereabouts had conveyed lands to those present landowners, that the lands had been originally vested in National Housing Corporation. The point needs to be made again that it has always been the policy of past governments in this country, when dealing with public lands, to have those public lands transacted by that entity called the National Housing Corporation. That was the policy. And perhaps that gives justification to the confession that we heard in here this morning, and to the statement he admits, the honourable member admits to the errors. And confession is the honourable thing to do. I agree with him. On the other side of the road, adjacent to what is called the woods at Poulan, stands a testament to this government. Stands a testament to this government and a testament of this government. A set of unfinished structures. I'm not going to call them houses. They are without roofs. They are without roofs. They are a blot on the landscape of St. John. The people of St. John told me that the lands on which those structures stand used to be agricultural lands. Potatoes and yams and all kinds of agricultural produce used to grow there. This government came and planted some concrete on those lands. And there's grass growing up through the structures. You understand, Your Honor? Up to now, I haven't called them houses. Up to now, I have not called them houses. But, Your Honor, I present that anecdotal evidence as evidence of the contrast between this government and past governments. Those persons at Poulan are comfortably resident in the houses that they have constructed over the last 15 years, conveyed by previous governments and conveyed by the previous government. They can calculate who was in office in 2013. And those houses went to persons who had grown up on the other side, literally on the other side of the road. Because you had a government that was genuinely in the business of enfranchising the people in the parish. It was not done in association with political gerrymandering, which is corrupt. This government doesn't like to hear the word corrupt, and every act of this government, according to the good judgment of the people of Barbados, can be reduced to a corrupt act. The people who live in those houses at Poulan used to live literally on the other side, in houses under which their navel strings are buried, and the last government enfranchised them with lands conveyed to them by the National Housing Corporation, and they live there now in dignity. And when you use the word dignity, contrasting with that is the word indignity. And it is a public financial indignity what has happened on the other side of the road. They can stay in their rooms and see this government's corrupt act of constructing.
Point of order, Mr.
Honourable
Speaker.
member for St. Joseph.
The honourable member persists in using the term corrupt, which is clearly an allegation that the members on this side are guilty of dishonest, fraudulent, or criminal acts in the conduct of their business as an executive and as a government. It is clearly in breach of the standing orders, and they ask that he be required to withdraw that comment.
Point taken, honourable member.
I have not accused anybody of stealing anything. And if the honourable member makes contact with his dictionary or other literature, which this government obviously avoids, he will understand that corruption involves the abuse of power. And I am alleging that this government has abused its power at every turn. And those unfinished structures at Pool Land with the grass growing up through them stand as evidence of this government's abuse of power. Who likes it or who don't like it can protest. I can conduct a guided tour for this government all over Barbados. And we will see evidence of abuse of power. If the Honourable Attorney General does not like the use of the word corrupt, if he turns red in the face when I use it, well, he's going to leave here today pink. Because I have some more allegations of corruption to make. While welcoming the former Minister of Housing, take your seat, son. Take your seat.
Honourable member, you're not positioned to, please, you're not speaking. You're speaking to the chamber, not to any members entering this chamber.
Guided, Your Honour. I want you to ask, though, Your Honour, the Honourable Member for St. Thomas to calm down. Calm down, keep quiet.
With your permission, I've only made comments toward you, sir, through you, sir, in relation to clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like the honourable member for St. Christchurch South, in his allegations of people being corrupt in here, to tell the members and the people of Barbados about the 141
Honourable member, honourable member is not a point of order. Honourable member is not a point of order, please. It's not a point of order, honourable member. It is not a point of order. Continue, honourable member.
I so thank you for that ruling, sir. It is not a point of order, Honourable Member, through you, sir. Honourable Member for St. Thomas has now been told it is not a point of order. Tighten your seatbelt.
Honourable member, please. Honourable member, please resort to the resolution.
To the resolution. And the resolution deals with compulsory acquisitions in this country. And I know, sir, today you're not going to stop me as long as I'm dealing with compulsory acquisitions. And I have told them tighten their seatbelts, because this is a long flight in an exposition of this government's infelicities over the last number of years, certainly as it pertains to compulsory acquisitions. They can get nervous, they can get uncomfortable. I came in here last week and used the term lame duck. Your Honor, that is not a term of insult. That is a term pertaining to status. After the election in the United States, the president stays on for November, December, January, and until the inauguration of the new president. During that period, he is called a lame duck.
Honourable member, I'm quite aware of that.
Thank you, sir. So I knew you would agree with me that the term lame duck is not a term of insult. And so if the honourable member for St. Thomas, is a lame duck, let her flutter in her final days. I said it here already, that if you kill a duck or a fowl and you get away while the neck is
Honourable
off,
member,
you will flutter,
please.
but
Honourable member, please.
So she's about to die.
Honourable member, please.
Politically.
Honourable member, you cannot refer to any honorable member here as she either. Honorable member, you cannot. That is not in keeping with the standing orders. Honorable member for Christchurch South, and you are fully aware of it. I need for you to withdraw those remarks, honorable member.
I consider, to do what, sir?
To withdraw, you cannot refer, first of all, you cannot refer to our member she.
No,
It's totally
that was not intended.
That's A, and about flattering, etc. That is not appropriate.
about
Flattering, that is not appropriate. Right, I am flattering, honorable member. It is not appropriate, honorable member.
Flattering is a term used
Honorable member.
in relation to a foul, whether a yard.
Honorable member, that is not appropriate. Honorable member, I know not only that you know better, not only that you know, honorable member, you need to sit when I'm speaking.
Oh, yes, yes.
Honorable member, I know that you know better, right? And I know that you know the standing orders of this chamber. I haven't been here since 2018. And I know that you know how to also abide and comply with those standing orders. Please do so. Please do so.
I'm obliged to you, sir. You know, what is interesting is that in the last 2 years, I have never experienced a moment of fear here. You know, I am so lucky that the numbers in here are depleted from week to week. If the numbers in here were large, I am lucky that the numbers are not large. They keep interrupting me.
Honorable member.
And the noises don't scare me.
Honorable member, please. Honorable, please, just deal with the resolution, honorable member. Not as it relates to any quantum of members that are. Please, just deal with the resolution.
These rabbits never scare me yet.
Honorable member, please. Honorable member, please deal with the resolution.
And I want the opportunity to make this speech in silence. That is a request that I'm entitled to make, and it is conduct that the other side must display. That while I'm speaking, even if what I say troubles them, they have a chance to speak when I'm finished.
Honorable, please continue.
Thank you, sir.
Please continue.
Thank you, sir. You heard George Street?
Honorable member, please. Honorable member, on more than one occasion, I have told you, beseech you, cajole you, to express judicial deafness, honorable member, please.
She's shouting it across the
Honorable member,
not she. The honorable member for St. Thomas is shouting across your chamber.
Honorable member, please do not get that prevent
Lame
you.
as she is.
Honorable member, please. Honorable member, please continue as it relates to the resolution.
So many lame
Please.
ducks are here, though. They're talking about George Street, and this parliament is filled with lame ducks. People who can't run next time.
Honorable member,
People
please.
who being sent home.
Honorable member. Honorable for St. Michael's office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is in breach of the standing orders of this place. This place is supposed to be a place of order, sir. And this is not to cast any doubts on your ability to lead this chamber or to control this chamber. But I can no longer sit in my place. I believe all of us give the honourable member for Christchurch South a degree of latitude because he's the only member in this place by default because he was on this side and he crossed the floor. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that you give him a degree of latitude.
Honorable member,
I'm not going to bite.
Honorable member, I determine.
Is this a speech or is it a point of order?
Honorable member.
The point of order must be stated.
Honorable member, do you wish for me to ask you to leave the chamber and or to put you out of the chamber? Please.
Who displaying bad manners, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know that you have also tried your best to exercise a degree of latitude as it relates to the honourable member. And I think for that, we are all grateful. But on my point of order, Mr. Speaker, I want to reiterate to the listening public and to remind the members of this chamber that there are standing orders which govern this place.
Addressed to the general public.
Honourable
Point
member.
of order addressed to His Honour the Speaker.
Honourable member.
It is not a point of order.
Honourable member.
The basis of the point has not yet been advanced.
Honourable member for Christchurch South, I am the person clothed with the authority and jurisdiction to determine that you are out of order to rise when the honorable member is speaking. I determine the points of order. You do not have that jurisdiction. Honorable member, you do not have anything to do with the basis for it. I determine that. So therefore, when the point of order is being made, I would wish for you not to rise at all. You can rise at the completion, not while she is speaking. Honorable member for Christchurch South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would wish, therefore, to remind the honourable member through you that the standing orders are meant to govern this chamber. They have been there from the inception of this parliament with amendments over the years to allow for members to be heard when they are speaking, to allow the speaker, when he is interrupting a member, to be able to be heard in silence. Mr. Speaker, the behavior that we are seeing exhibited in this chamber is unfortunate. And I would want the honourable member to be reminded of the standing orders that you are to be heard in silence, that the imputing of improper motives on other parliamentary members of this place is out of order and a breach of the standing orders, that using offensive and insulting words in this chambers towards another member is also a breach of the standing orders of which he is a member, which he should be well aware of. I will not seek to cast any aspersions on his time in this place, but I do know as a fellow attorney that he is aware and he can read and he knows what the standing orders say, Mr. Speaker. But I cannot sit here along with my other colleagues and allow for this behavior to continue. There are, from week to week and even today, aspersions on whether members are in this place and whether they are elsewhere. There are genuine concerns sometimes by members where they are unable to be here and they have ministerial portfolios that they also have to attend to, Mr. Speaker. I know the honourable member has not held a ministerial portfolio, so he will not appreciate and understand that while the good people of constituencies sent us here, there are also matters that this administration and its leadership has to attend to from time to time that requires it to be out of the chamber. That is not information or discourse that is fit for this place, sir. Members are not here from time to time, and that is it. And they come into the chamber, they make sure that they make a quorum for the benefit of the public. A quorum is all that is required for a sitting of this place to begin. And therefore, you will see members from time to time moving to and fro in and out of this chamber. Whether they have to go to the bathroom, sir, I don't intend to make a speech. But, sir, you have the power to put the honourable member out of this place. And I know you feel constrained. But there are rules which must govern this place that we have all signed up to. We cannot continue to set bad examples, not only to each other, but also to the public. We do not always agree with what he has to say, but we do listen. And we do allow him the opportunity to speak, and I would hope, sir, that we can allow the honourable member for Christchurch South to continue his discourse in this chamber in accordance with the standing orders of this place. I'm obliged, Mr. Speaker.
Continue, honourable member for Christchurch South. And you resort to the resolution, honourable member. Honourable, please resort to the resolution.
And we were saying to the people of Barbados, to you, sir, that the policy of this government contrasts clearly against the policy of past governments, including the last one. And I want to state it emphatically, the contrast, the exemplification of that contrast, or the manifestation of that contrast, at Poland and St. John. On one side of the road are some structures constructed. I almost use the word corruption, but I will use it now. Some structures constructed further to abuse of power, if they prefer to
Honourable member.
the phrase of
Turn on.
Thank you so much. I may have to repeat that for the public. That the situation at Poland and St. John is a manifestation of the contrast in the policies of this government and past governments. That on one side of the road, you have persons whose navel strings are buried in St. John living on their own properties conveyed by the National Housing Corporation pursuant to a vesting such as has been done here today. On the other side of the road stands a national disgrace. Structures without roofs. I don't know if they call them houses. Even dog houses have roofs. So you can't accuse this government of building dog houses further to what the Honourable Member for St. Michael East said in relation to the ones at Lancaster. He came in here one day, that Honourable Member came in here one day and called them dog houses. Of course, what happened to him in the corridor is a matter that is unforgettable. The point made is this, that on the left side, driving up Pool, is evidence of corruption, abuse of power, incompetence, delinquency, laziness. You building houses on land that is not yours. Before an adult one was hearing the adult say, you don't put wall house on rank land. You know, this government, this omniscient government, this government that wants the people of Barbados to call them bright. They put wall houses on lands to which they did not have title, and we are supposed to come in here and call them bright. And we are supposed to come in here and say that they have not abused their power, synonymously with the word corrupt. That is what corruption often is. Sometimes it is putting people in positions to the disadvantage of others. That too is corruption. And this government has a long list of corrupt practice. And we need not repeat the disgrace at Newton today.
Honourable Member.
Sir, I raise on a point of order, and because I know that my very presence seems to irritate the Honourable Member, and my voice, I have held back objecting, but I raise on a point of order that the Honourable Member is breaching, sir, standing orders 28.2, 28.5, 28.7. There is no relevance at all in what he is saying now to the matter that was led by the Honourable Member for St. Michael West. The Honourable Member keeps accusing the government as a body, and that would then mean the entire cabinet, which can be identified, of corruption, corrupt practices. He dances around the words, but he keeps coming back to the word. We all know what corrupt means in common parlance, sir, and I take objection to the reference because it is insulting and offensive to me, and it is false. The other thing, sir, he is imputing improper motives to the Ministry of Housing, the Minister, and the government. Sir, the standing orders are clear. That's on the first page of the standing orders. If I wish, sir, for his benefit, he can look at them. 2, 5, 2, 5, and 7. 2, 5, and 7. Every single time from now, sir, he breaches it, I will get up. We could be here till tomorrow.
Continue, Honourable Member, brace yourself.
Who was it that spoke just now?
Honourable Member, please, please. Refer to the housing resolution, Honourable
Thank you,
Member.
sir. And in referring to the housing resolution, I will refer to the Compulsory Land Acquisition Act, which gives the power for this resolution today and gives the power to all acquisitions in this country. If a speech is now to be circumscribed to prevent me from making reference to the Compulsory Land Acquisition Act, well, I'm very sorry. That too would be an abuse of power. But I won't accuse you of that because you recognize, sir, that a parliament is a place of speech and free speech. And as long as it pertains to Chapter 228 of the laws of Barbados, it is relevant that a member is entitled and allowed to speak on the matter of acquisitions generally and particularly. I come back to what I was saying, sir. And I will quote the Honourable Member for St. Michael West. I am not ashamed to admit that the NHC was inadvertently omitted. I am entitled and permitted to comment on that. And to ask the Honourable Member, one of the more polite ones around here, and that is a compliment to him, and not an inferential reflection on bad manners elsewhere. I am asking the Honourable Member for St. Michael West to tell the people of Barbados what is the name of the entity whom this government installed in 2021. I accept the confession, I accept the apology. But while you express regret, while you confess, say to the people of Barbados, in whose name your predecessor vested these lands at Sergeant's Village. Are we not entitled to hear? Are the people of Barbados not entitled to hear? Are the people of Barbados not entitled to be reminded that this government, in using, and I say abusing, the legislation in this country, vested lands in an entity which was not deserving of such, and that a cabinet in this country sat down one morning or afternoon and took up $60 million of the taxpayers' money? You think the people of Barbados ready to forget? You think they're ready to forgive? They have condemned, and the sentence will be meted out very shortly. All who are uncomfortable, stay uncomfortable. All who's red in the face, prepare for pink faces. I am not going to withdraw from embarrassing this government today, and it is not a deliberate ploy to embarrass them, but I'm going to speak the truth in here, and if the truth embarrasses this government, so be it. So let the points of order come. I will not be silenced. And I have said, Your Honour, I have not spent 1 second in this parliament in fear of this tyrannical government. They don't frighten me.
Honourable Member, please.
They have never scared me yet.
Honourable Member, please.
Never scared me yet.
Continue with the resolution,
Thank
please.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. You're here again. Can't silence me today. So tell the name, was it hope? Was it hope? It was hope, in which government vested about 20 acres of lands at Hanson Hill and gave 20 to the National Housing Corporation. In other words, there was a competition carried out by this government between Hope and the National Housing Corporation. This government was in the business of making National Housing Corporation redundant. And government was doing that because government wanted to enfranchise, and not only enfranchise, but enrich private individuals in this country who got $60 million. Where is it? Where is it? So I accept the confession, and I will decide, the people of Barbados will decide later today whether they accept the apology. So that what is happening here today is a withdrawal from what I say is a corrupt practice. And it turns out to be corrupt, Your Honor, because the $60 million has not been accounted for. Did some of those monies go to Poland? Unfinished. Did some of those monies go to the steel that was rusting in 6 roads? Unused. All amounting to corruption. Those who are red in the face turn pink. I am not withdrawing from that allegation today nor tomorrow. Not withdrawing from it. And what I say here today, I'm going to say in the public domain, but it must be said here today in front of a red-faced, embarrassed government. Honourable member says he's looking in the rearview mirror. Well, all I can say to that polite honourable member, while he's looking in the rearview mirror, this Democratic Labour Party is looking through the front windscreen. We're going forward. And we intend to go forward with the National Housing Corporation. And we intend that the hearing of the PAC, which was frustrated by this government, will proceed in future. It's not 60 cents. It's $60 million taken out by this government and handed to private individuals. Let me tell you a story about it, sir. Sir Garfield Sobers is our national hero. And this is now a fact. One evening I heard Sir Gary on the radio saying that they came and took him up from his house.
I remember, you can't make reference to that. I don't remember that. You can't.
To what, sir?
A story on the radio, etc.
I
is not
see,
permitted.
I see, okay.
It's not permitted, Honourable Member.
All right, I wouldn't make reference
It's not
to the story on the
permitted.
radio. What I will say is what I know.
But it's not permitted.
That they at the same Lancaster, they named a road after Sir Garfield Sobers. They named a road at that corrupt acreage after Sir Garfield Sobers. And I believe that prior notice was not given to Sir Garfield as to why they were trying to retrieve dignity, since Sir Gary is dignified, a symbol of excellence and dignity. And they took up that gentleman and carried him to Vespera Gardens, they call it, and named the street down there after him, and Beckles Road up there looking for a name, and the whole of Bayland up there looking for a name. Up there should be named after Sir Gary. They took up the gentleman and took him down to Vespera, hoping to retrieve dignity out of corruption. That is why I use the word. They were trying to rescue. They were trying to rescue the manifestation of a corrupt practice. If $60 million were spent, as this government says, on low-income housing, and I'm going to give a generous estimate, if they spent $50,000 per house, they would have had is it 1,200 houses, sir? And if you put an average of 5 persons in each house, 6,000 Barbadians would have been housed for that $60,000 spent by government. Spent by government in a not-for-profit making enterprise, because NHC, like the Transport Board and the hospital and the institution of education in this country, is not about financial profit. It is about the delivery of a social service in a country whose history has been a history of injustice against the majority. That is what social democracy is about. And so thousands of Barbadians are out of housing this morning, so it is fine. I accept the honourable members' newness to the office. No doubt meaning well. Haven't insulted him once, and I will never insult him in here nor anywhere. But on the question of property and housing, the pun is probably intended. He is...
The honourable member, not he.
The honourable member, yes, thank you, sir. The honourable member, and genuinely honourable too, is holding an inheritance. And the honourable member's inheritance, is that of a ministry that has not covered itself in glory. If you read Macbeth, the concept of the poison chalice reaches out of the pages to the reader. The Ministry of Housing is a poison chalice handed to this innocent young man who wants to inherit hope, who wants to inherit the disappearance of $60 million unaccounted for, who wants to inherit that. I say to the honourable member this morning, I appreciate his reference to gas station attendants. That is honourable and that is noble. And it is so well-meaning. But I want the honourable member, on behalf of his government, to admit, with the other admissions and confessions, that if the $60 million had been properly spent on gas station attendants, we would have had the erasure of a significant social problem in this country, when young people who are taking home minimal salaries would have been housed in a progressive housing program. So based on what the honourable member for St. Michael West has said, this government, by its previous practice, has deprived thousands of young people in Barbados of the dignity of a residence. And I'm not shouting because I intend to wake the Honourable Attorney General. It's not the reason for my shouting. In the month of December, in election year, the president is called a lame duck president. I come back to quotations from the honourable member as he spoke this morning. The honourable member said that this government pursues joint ventures and that this strategy ensures ownership of land and acceleration of projects. I take philosophical opposition to that rationale. You don't need a joint venture to ensure ownership. Ownership is a simple matter of conveying lands from the vendor to the purchaser. That is what NHC has been doing for years in this country. West Terrace, all over Barbados, where the government has participated pursuant to this legislation called the Land Acquisition Act. So there's no magic nor mystery. to a conveyance. In fact, when we as lawyers receive the conveyance from NHC, sometimes you go straight to the schedule, which describes the property transferred. So immaculate and impeccable was the drafting done by the lawyers at the NHC in terms of those conveyances. So there's no magic. You don't need any joint venture to convey lands. Neither do you need any joint venture to build a house. The NHC has built several houses in this country from the 1950s to present. Well, not to present, let me correct myself. Because the NHC was fired by this government. The NHC was fired by this government in preference to something called hope. You know, Your Honor, I'm not going to let them forget it. The people of Barbados have asked me to come here to remind them as a means of punishment. And this is a government deserving of the worst form of punishment for squandering the people's money further to a corrupt design. And that corrupt design has been to
Sir, I raise on a point of order. Sir, once again, we've been giving the honourable member a lot of leeway. To say that the government has squandered money in pursuance of a corrupt design is to lay the intention of corruption at the hands of the government. That would then include all of us in here, and include me. I take offense to that, and I ask, sir, that the honourable member withdraw that statement or it be stricken from the record. If he wants to know exactly what standing order is, thank you, sir.
Continue, honourable for Christ.
I am obliged to you, sir. Your Honor, the point being made is that there was no need for any joint venture between the National Housing Corporation and Hope. Hope was inserted for the purpose of enriching private individuals, I say so today, without fear, and grabbing cigar field sobers to give dignity.
Sir, I raise on a point of order as well. The standing orders, sir, prohibit the calling of the name of an individual.
Honourable member has spoken to the honourable member in relation to that already.
But sir, if I can just finish this one, sir, with your permission. The fact is we are speaking about a national hero of Barbados, and this continued reference to him as if he were a puppet or someone incapable of deciding for himself, sir, is offensive and diminishes the reputation of the gentleman.
Thank you, sir.
Should know better.
The gentleman ought to have been given treatment deserving of his standing and status. And I'm saying that it is a fact that the gentleman, whose name shall not be called, ought not to have been taken down there to give dignity to indignity. And I'm saying again, that Vespera Gardens could have proceeded without the participation of Hope. And the honourable member for St. Michael West stood up in here this morning in a very short address and said that there was the intention to have added to this project photovoltaic systems. Again, Your Honor, monies were spent on Vespera Gardens with the stated intention that there would have been solar power down there. There's none. So when I say that monies were squandered, and when I say that monies were squandered corruptly, it is that also to which I
raise again, sir, on a point of order. The honourable member cannot keep imputing improper motives to the government of Barbados and by extension the individual members who formed that government.
Honourable member for Christ yourself. There's something called alleged corruption as against corruption. I am sure you're aware of that. Honourable member. I'm sure you're aware of the words alleged. Right, yes.
Alleged. Or the word
Continue.
allege would satisfy his honor.
The standing orders, Honourable Member. Continue.
Well, if the people of Barbados prefer to hear the phrase alleged corruption, well, the people of Barbados will join me now and amend these pleadings. We are suing this government. We are prosecuting this government today. We are drawing an indictment against this government. A political indictment that alleges corruption. A word you love, sir. The political indictment against this government alleges corruption. And I will bring the evidence. It is not only at Poole with the unfinished houses, it is at Vespera Gardens where the photovoltaic system failed. Not because it started working and stopped. The installations were done and were never completed to the point at which the residents could claim that their electricity bills were lowered due to a solar system. Nothing of the sort has occurred. Alleged corruption. That is the indictment. I press on, sir. The honourable member said, we will not leave out people in the housing estates. We will repair roofs. I'm going to come back to that later. Let me come back to the honourable members, the earlier parts of the honourable member's speech. The honourable member said, Resolution 1 was to remove ambiguity. Say that about two. The honourable member, beg his pardon, said that about 2 or 3 times. That today's resolution was to remove ambiguity. Now, the public is entitled to hear what was the ambiguity. But the honourable member, being genuinely honourable, I think, might have said, what was the ambiguity? He may have expatiated. He may have stated the thing in its fullness. The public is no wiser now. For having inserted NHC, I call upon the honourable member once again to say what was the ambiguity. Was it hope? Was it the name of a private individual who is now rich and whose enrichment derives directly from that $60 million? The political indictment alleges corruption. Somebody got rich off the $60 million and then drive a stroke up to today. I accept the confession. Let the people of Barbados decide whether they accept the apology. This government comes years after Hope to confess. I was, before the various interruptions, I was at the point where I was reminding the people of Barbados that a large acreage of land at Hanson Hill, beautiful pasture land, some of the most beautiful land that existed in this country, given a view of central Barbados, the ABC Highway, in the direction of Warrens. Beautiful pasture lands, half to NHC, half to Hope. Why? Why was this government parceling out public lands to Hope and giving half to NHC? I repeat, it was part of a scheme to make redundant the activity, the legal activity of the National Housing Corporation in favor of Hope. Yes, today I allege corruption. Today I allege again that National Housing Corporation, which had served this country for many, many years, was about to receive its pension for having been retired from the business of providing low-income housing. It has done it since the 1950s, through the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And this wise and omniscient government decided after the 2018 election that this scheme of subsidized housing should come to an end and that public monies would be diverted to private persons. I repeat, if they want the evidence, and I'm not going to call any names in here today, but if they want the evidence, I could give this government an envelope with the names of persons who benefited from that $60 million. But I'm not going to give any names. I'm not going to give any names. But I want the people of Barbados to know that there are certain persons, a small number of persons, who benefited from the $60 million. And those 6,000 human beings, including gas station attendants, how noble, have been deprived of a roof over their heads because somebody or somebodies became rich out of hope. Points of order, please. Points of order. I come to Section 3 of the Land Acquisition Act. Look, this minister, I say, read Macbeth. He's inherited a poison chalice. The honourable member has inherited a poison chalice. And if there's any criticism, and it really is not against him, he has to do what he has to do. And he has to do what he has been asked to do. And much as I accuse his predecessor of being the voice of Jacob, so do I also accuse this honourable member of being the voice of Jacob. And may I say, Your Honour, that there is a nefarious hand of Esau that has manipulated these misdeeds, financial and otherwise. It's fine to hear the voice of Jacob, but don't be distracted by the voice of Jacob. It is the hand of Esau which diverted $60 million out of the coffers, out of public coffers. And I go further. One member rose to question my charges contained in this political indictment. It stands as a matter of fact that the cabinet of this country voted for and gave approval to the sum of $60 million payable not to the National Housing Corporation, to Hope. And they tell me not to use the word corruption. I won't any longer. I will use the phrase allegations of corruption, further to Your Honour's direction. Let us come, Your Honour, let us come to the Land Acquisition Act. And the operative portion of the Land Acquisition Act is Section 3. Section 3. And so, Honourable Member for St. Michael West now will learn on the cusp of an election, that he has been handed a poison chalice called the Ministry of Housing, and that he has inherited Jacob's original voice, and he will learn that the hand of Esau continues to manage public funds in this country in a way that betrays the interests of persons who wish to acquire houses at subsidized rates. Section 3 of the Land Acquisition Act. I read it, sir. Whenever it appears to the minister that any land is likely to be required for any purposes for which the Crown is authorized by any act to acquire land, or for any purposes which, in the opinion of the minister, are public purposes, a notification to that effect shall be published in 3 successive issues of the Official Gazette and of a daily newspaper in Barbados, under the hand of the permanent secretary to the minister. The minister there, of course, is the Minister of Housing and Lands. The operative phrase in Section 3 of the Land Acquisition Act is a 2-word phrase, public purposes. I believe I've heard the Attorney General in here on a previous occasion contest with reference to, I think, a case from one of the OECS jurisdictions as to a definition of the phrase public purposes. I have the right not only to an opinion on the facts, but like all citizens who are lawyers, I have the right to a legal opinion. And the law is not written for lawyers, nor judges. The law is written for all citizens. And all citizens, therefore, have a right to give interpretation. And when the citizen hears that an acquisition ought to be done for public purposes, the citizen is entitled to apply the rule of literal interpretation. In other words, there's a rule called the literal rule, that when you're given meaning to legislation, you say what the word literally means. And I think the public for whom this legislation is written are entitled to believe and to take the position that any time the state, acting through the government, intends to acquire land from anyone to vest to a public entity, which ought to be NHC, but we have expressed that often enough, that it should be done for a public purpose and not for private benefit. A public purpose, the concept of a public purpose is far distinct from private benefit. I am charging this government in this political indictment today with having used and abused the laws of Barbados, which empowers the government to acquire lands for public purposes, and the abuse resides in this government practice of acquiring lands for private benefit. Your Honor, that is the political indictment, and you're an experienced lawyer, and you know after the political indictment is read, then follows the evidence. Where's the evidence, Your Honor? Jammett's Lane, German slain. Let the people of Barbados remember, and they will never forget, that this government abused the Land Acquisition Act to hand the land, to vest land in a private institution, not only private but foreign. A Bajan don't have a chance around here. A Bajan doesn't have a chance with this government. A Bajan does not have a chance with this government. So when the honourable member for St. Michael West comes in here.
On a point of order.
Honourable member for Christchurch West.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is misleading the House. Let me make that clear. And the first, obviously, the honourable member started about the Land Acquisition Act as it relates to Gemmet's Lane. There was no Land Acquisition Act acquired or required as it relates to Gemmet's Lane, because the Gemmet's Lane land was already owned by the state. So for the honourable member to suggest a connection between the Land Acquisition Act and how it was disposed of is inaccurate, improper, and misleading to this honourable chamber. Thank you.
Continue, honourable member for Christchurch.
Substance in here today.
Honourable member, you can't. Honourable member, you have no. You are not vested with jurisdiction to determine point of order, sir. You do not have, you're not vested that authority, sir. It resides solely here. Continue, honourable member.
Not attempting to preempt you, sir, but I was congratulating the honourable member for Christchurch West for correctly indicating that on that occasion, the government did not abuse its powers under the Land Acquisition Act, that what the government in fact did was to sneak in here late one night after a budget debate.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is imputing improper motives on the government. This government does not sneak in here.
All right, honourable member for Christchurch West. Okay.
Emboldened as he is by my compliment,
Continue, honourable member for Christchurch West.
he has found a voice to which he's unaccustomed. He bellowed in my direction, and I was not afraid.
Honourable member, please continue.
Thank you, sir. And so, this whole sordid affair that Barbadians will never forget is that this government, using its considerable powers, took up lands belonging to the people of Barbados and gave it to a bank. I can shout too. And not only gave it to a bank, but gave it to a foreign bank. The gas station attendant can't get peace too. Through you, sir, to the honourable member for St. Michael West, and we can probably extend it to the honourable member for Christchurch West. A gas station attendant can't get a piece of land in this country. And so they gave the land for 8, 4, 12, 14. All right, you're doing well. Still got a quorum. They gave the land to this bank. And lest we forget, November 30th, 2025 came, and they gave this country's highest honor to the chairman of that bank. Now look, we know that in this country, these honors are reserved. They're very prestigious. People line up. People line up hoping to get a little honor.
Honourable member, that has no relevance.
Indeed not.
Has no relevance.
The relevance may be, and you will hear me, sir, with respect, that honor given is something about which the people of Barbados are guessing. What contribution has that bank made to Barbados? That within the space of 2 years of involvement in the affairs of this country, the chairman becomes
honourable member, that has nothing.
the beneficiary of a national
Honourable
award.
member, that has nothing to do with the vesting of land,
Yes.
which is before this honourable chamber. Nothing
I
at
accept your
all.
ruling, sir. I merely draw a correlation between national
There's no
orders.
correlation between that
Thank
and
you, sir.
any order, honorable member.
The debate has taken place, sir. And you have ruled. And we accept your ruling, sir. That there's no correlation. But on the eve of, look, I saw one of the, should I refer to that social media post? No, I won't. Your Honor, please permit me to say that this flurry of governmental activity to give belated benefit to the people of Barbados is related to this government's lack of stamina. The people gave them 5 years, and 3 years into a term, 3 years after failing to give account to the people of Barbados for the millions of dollars expended, there's this mad flurry, not only to appoint people in accordance with legislation that gave that power since 2007.
Honorable member, this has nothing to do
Yes.
with the vesting of land, honorable member.
Yes, yes.
Please stick to order 8 and order 7, honorable member.
A tool of language in which you make comparison between two events to emphasize the point in relation to one. But yes, we'll abide by your rulings. But I want the people of Barbados to understand how this government is using the Land Acquisition Act. Because the honorable member came here today to demonstrate to the people of Barbados how this government is using the Land Acquisition Act, certainly as it relates to Sergeant's Village. Now, the honorable member, I believe, would have been called upon a few hours ago to sign similar documents in relation to the acquisition of lands at Bay Street. At Bay Street. This time they're using the Land Acquisition Act. And this time, the honorable member who has inherited the poison chalice has gone into the public domain to give assurance to the vendors who occupy the said lands which are intended to be compulsorily acquired by the government, that they will not be displaced. Now, something is not making sense. The government is acquiring the lands from the owner, but the tenants who pursue a public purpose of commerce with the public, they are told that they will not be disturbed. They will not be disturbed before the election. But as with the
I'm raising a point of order, sir.
Honorable.
In relation to the particular matter on which the honorable member speaks, first of all, is entirely relevant. But even more so, it was clearly stated, sir, to correct a misapprehension in the news, that what the government was acquiring was the car park area of the property he's referring to, and not the area on which the vendors conduct their business. Nothing is happening at present, sir, in relation to where the vendors conduct their business. This has been clearly stated. It was clarified by the honorable member for St. Michael West. It was clarified by the Attorney General at some other time. It is a mischief being perpetrated, sir, and it has nothing to do, the current acquisition has nothing to do with the spot on which the vendors currently operate. That spot, actually, sir, is already owned by the government.
Continue, Honourable Member for Christian. So,
Now, the honorable member for St. Michael West must be grateful for the assistance. And it is one of those rare occasions in which I will engage the honorable member who last spoke, and to remind him that the people of Barbados are not foolish, and that if this government thinks that the people of Barbados are foolish, they will have to rethink that position now. That for some good reason, this government wants to acquire a car park. For some good reason. For some very good reason. And since the honorable member has decided to engage me ahead of the honorable member for St. Michael West, I invite him to get up and to explain to the people of Barbados why the present occupant of those lands was over the last many months, I'm going to say months, invited to receive lands at Gemmett's Lane. I'm drawing the political indictment. And the public will now be informed that that portion called car park was intended to be given to the bank. I drew a political indictment. And when you're in a court of law, sir, you hear the phrase, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So let us hear it today. Let the honorable member get up and deny that the government had intended to acquire that car park to give to the bank. The honorable member has advanced the debate, and I am so grateful. Let the honorable member now get up and tell the people of Barbados through this parliament, if it had not been the intention of the government to acquire that car park space to give to the bank, and whether the government had not transacted with the present occupier to receive lands in the area that the bank now occupies. Point of order, please. Point of order, come.
Erase, sir.
Honourable.
On a point of order.
Yes.
I have been very, very clear, sir. The stated intention in the acquisition of that land is to provide the car park for the public. As it stands now, sir, that property is claimed by another who locks the car park when they see fit, and it's a restricted use car park. The stated aim of the government is to provide continued access to one of the most popular beaches in Barbados, to develop the car park properly, and at the end of the acquisition to provide proper facilities, including bathroom facilities, to uplift the entire area. The point that was made by the honourable member is that the government was acquiring the land on which the vendors stood, and there was an imputation, sir, that we were going to stop people from operating. I go clearly again. What is being acquired is the car park for continued use as a car park and access, and that the land on which the vendors currently operating is not the subject of any acquisition because the government already owns it.
I invited the point of order, and I am so pleased that the public of Barbados will now hear the further clarification. The discussion is now being advanced further. The interloper, and who do I mean by the interloper? I did not say.
I'm listening to you.
I'm not referring to anybody in here,
No,
sir.
I'm listening. My ears are pricked.
Your ears are
My
pricked,
ears
sir?
are pricked, Honourable Member.
Well, I wouldn't bother with the interloper out there.
My ears are pricked, Honourable Member.
I will express gratitude to the honorable member, who is advancing the debate, and I am genuinely grateful.
Honourable Member, right, I understand that.
Yes.
But if you read this, this resolution, this speaks to vesting, etc. You know that?
Beg pardon, sir?
This resolution, it speaks to compulsory acquisition, sir? Does this resolution speak to compulsory acquisition?
It speaks to
Or does it, just look at it. Does it speak to compulsory acquisition? Does it not speak to, under Section 5 of the Crown Lands Vesting and Disposal Act 225, Honourable Member? Does it not speak to that?
Yes.
Does it not? So I would be correct in saying, Honourable Member, that this resolution has nothing at all to do with Cap 228. Am I correct in saying that, Honourable Member?
What we are doing...
Honourable Member, am I correct in saying that? Am I correct in saying that this resolution has nothing to do with compulsory acquisition, but that it has something to do with vesting and disposal? Yes or no, Honourable Member? That has something to do with 225 and not 228? Am I correct in saying that, Honourable Member? Honourable Member, am I correct in saying that?
I am about to ask if His Honor is interrogating me.
No, but no, because a lot
Because this is the most unusual turn of
no,
events.
because it has to do with relevance. It has to do with relevance. If the vesting, if this piece of legislation, if the resolution has to do with Cap 225, it therefore means that you ought not to go outside 225 and involve Cap 228. This resolution speaks nothing at all to do with Cap 228, Honourable Member.
And so if the lands, and I'm so grateful for the clarification, and so if the lands, I'm so happy. I have turned so happy that the Honourable Member for Christchurch East has now intervened to offer clarification that his colleague did not offer. But what I want him to offer to the people of Barbados, what I want the Honourable Member who has inserted himself to offer to the people of Barbados, is some larger explanation as to why the government wants to pursue this legal recourse so that it can merely pave a car park where they don't go pave the potholes all over Barbados. They are using their power, their large governmental power, to pave a car park and penalizing a man who is using it so that the several taxis...
I remember, you don't raise it. I remember, what does that have to do with Cap 225 for which this resolution speaks? Please, notwithstanding that the RMM for Christchurch East has risen, please resort to what is before this chamber in relation to Cap 225,
Yes.
please.
Yes.
So disabuse your mind
Yes. So
from disabuse your mind from what was said by the RMM for Christchurch East as it relates. This said these specifically. This is particular as it relates to Cap 225. Continue, RMF Christchurch.
So hopefully he will accept your ruling that his intervention was irrelevant.
No one has any choice but to accept my ruling. Everybody must accept my ruling from here.
Both of us.
Thank you kindly.
Yes.
Continue, RMF.
Hopefully he will.
RMF, continue, please.
Yes. Hopefully he will no longer pursue. Having heard your ruling, sir, that he is introducing irrelevant material.
Honourable Member, you cannot comment on that. I have made a ruling. Continue with the resolution before this chamber.
I merely invited him to accept your ruling, sir.
Honourable Member, you have no jurisdiction to invite him. You're not vested with that authority. Continue, please.
Well, all I will do is hope that he heard you, and that the excursion on which he took you...
Honourable Member, please deal with the resolution, please.
Yes. But what the people of Barbados are interested in relation to this, this general thrust of the government in acquisitions and...
Honourable Member, there's nothing before this chamber in relation to acquisitions. Look at
vesting.
Look, please look. That's not acquisition. You know the English language better than I. Vesting start with a V, acquisition start with an A. They're not one and the same. One is not synonymous with the other. Come on, Honourable Member. You are school in literature. Very well. Please stick to what is before this chamber. Continue, Honourable Member for Christ yourself.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So that we wonder now what the Honourable Member for Christchurch East is going to do. Because you have ruled, Mr. Speaker, that the resolution deals with vesting. And the Honourable Member has risen in here.
Honourable Member, go past that. Go past that, please. Speak to what is before this chamber.
I'm just recognizing his
No.
plight.
Please, stick to it.
And so you have ruled, sir, that this is about vesting.
And disposal.
Precisely.
Cap 225.
And the Honourable Member, I'm going to help him, you know. I'm going to help him.
Honourable Member, please, this has nothing to do with the Honourable Member for Christchurch East. Nothing at all. Please speak to what is before the chamber.
So you are rendering him.
Honourable Member is not.
You are now rendering him. We understand, sir. We know what you're doing to him.
Honourable, please continue with the resolution.
We know what you're doing to him. He got up and took you on an excursion.
Honourable Member, please speak to the Cap 225 and what the Honourable make your best said in relation to vesting of
I'm
the
sorry
land.
that he allowed me to drag him where you don't want him to go. I'm sorry for him now. He's embarrassed, you know.
Honourable Member, can you please continue? Honourable, please continue. Can you?
You ain't getting none of St. Thomas.
Honourable Member, please.
You're a lame duck.
Honourable Member, please not stop referring to the Honourable Member, please. This has nothing to do with the resolution. Do not reply to the Honourable Member for St. Thomas. Do not. Please continue, Honourable Member.
Look, the lame duck.
Honourable Member, please deal with the resolution.
As I said, sir, a lame duck is not a term of insult. The Honourable Member for St. Thomas is a lame duck. Nothing she says in here is of any consequence.
Honourable Member, the Honourable Member for St. Thomas has nothing to. Honourable Member for St. Thomas has nothing to do with this resolution. Please continue as it relates to the resolution before this chamber, please.
She continues to shout across your chamber.
Honourable Member, please.
Please control her. Please control her. Please control her. You hear her again? I don't know if she means me or you. But what she just said is not
Honourable
pleasant.
Member, I ask you to express judicial
No,
deafness.
I'm not. Her voice is not quiet. Her voice is not quiet. Will you wake up?
Honourable Member, please.
Lame duck Attorney General, you wake up.
Honourable Member, please. Speak to the resolution, please.
Yes. So that I will come back to the address given by the Honourable Member for St. Michael West. And I quote him, "The sole mission is to empower Barbadians to own or get a loan." Now, I accuse the Honourable Member for St. Michael West of having noble intent. And the intent may be noble. But I fear that the Honourable Member has misled gas station attendants, please keep quiet, son, has misled gas station attendants in this country. I fear that he has done. If the Honourable Member knows what is the income of gas station attendants, the Honourable Member will know that they do not qualify for a loan. The Honourable Member probably, if the Honourable Member does not know
Mr. Speaker,
that,
on a point of order.
sorry.
I clearly said that there are other options available. Clearly, I said that the social mortgage program, which is rent to own, will be targeting gas station attendants. We know they are working, and through that program, we can offer them accommodation in these developments, sir, and not a mortgage.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. when it is dialectical, we make progress. And I, on behalf of the gas station attendants in this country who may have been misled by being told that they qualify for mortgages, the honourable member for St. Michael West has now clarified the means by which they may be enfranchised. But on the question of loans, I invite the honourable member to get to his feet again and to tell this country what he knows about the alleged repayment of $4 million to the Housing Credit Fund by Hope. Is it true or is it not? The honourable member for St. George South stood up here a few months ago before he was fired and said, where he is? He's outside. He got up in here and said, I think it was during the estimates.
Honourable, you know that the honourable member is not here.
Oh, he's not. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's not here. Continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for informing me and the public that the honourable member for St. George has refused to be present.
Honourable member, please. Honourable member, withdraw that statement.
I withdraw it.
Honourable member, withdraw that
withdraw
statement.
it.
That is uncalled for.
I withdraw it. You know,
Honourable member, you know better.
I stand up here and
Honourable member, you know better.
I listen to all kinds of
I
things.
know that, but you know better.
And the honourable member for St. Thomas goes non-stop. George Street and all kinds of streets.
Honourable member, I will quiet her for you. I will do
And
that.
to call her lame duck
Honourable
representative
member, continue, please.
who cannot get a road in her constituency. That's why I call her lame duck.
Honourable member, what has that got to do with the resolution before this chamber, please?
You can see just now. That's why you ain't got the courage to
You
come
see,
back.
honourable member, on one hand, you are complaining about the incursion by the army for St. Thomas. On the other hand, you are replying to her. So you are engaging her, which is contrary to the rules, contrary to standing orders. She ought not to encourage, but yet you are encouraging her to continue engaging her, and then you are complaining to the chair to intervene on your behalf. Continue, I remember.
Thank you, sir. I am not going to ask you to stop the lame duck.
Please continue.
I'm not going to ask you to stop the lame duck. I'm used to her interruptions.
Yeah.
Has not made.
Honourable member, speak to the resolution
Yes.
brought by the
Let us
honourable
speak
member.
to the resolution that the lame duck member for St. Thomas will not speak to. She hasn't made a speech in here for one speech in the last 3 years.
Honourable member.
Wasting the taxpayers' money.
Honourable
Can't get a road in St. Thomas fixed.
that has nothing to do with this.
Cannot get a road in St. Thomas fixed.
Honourable member,
Sir,
that you are out of place. Honourable member, you're out of place. Please, do not resort to that kind of language before this chamber.
What kind of language, sir?
About language, do not.
That the honourable member can't get a road in St. Thomas
Not
fixed?
that. Honourable member, please speak to the resolution. please.
Cannot get a road in St. Thomas
Honourable
fixed?
member, please speak to the resolution.
I come in here keeping a lot of noise.
Honourable member, please.
One speech in 3 years.
Honourable member, please.
As you please, sir. And so, this rush, this governmental rush to enfranchise people, and I am saying that the potential.
Continue, honourable member, continue.
I suspect it annoys you as well.
No, member, continue,
I
honourable member,
suspect it annoys you as well. I'm waiting for them to stop.
Honourable, no, you continue.
No, you.
Honourable member,
I'm addressing you and you cannot hear me and them too.
I can hear you, honourable.
Good. There's quiet. Now, the honourable member promises these lucky persons that these duplex sites will be handed over at the end of January. Yes, and then the honourable member went on to say, we will not leave out people in the housing estates. We will repair roofs. Now, I want to say to the honourable member, through you, of course, sir, that the problem of housing in what he calls the housing estates is not a problem of roofs. It is a problem of inadequate repair, and it is a problem of space. And a conscientious government ought to be appealing to the people in the housing estates in a manner that makes their occupation of the present accommodation more comfortable. And how do you do that? A roof is not going to add to the space. What we need to say to the government, and what the Democratic Labour Party will say to the people of Barbados, is that many of the housing estates are now inadequate for present occupation. In other words, there simply is not enough space. There are too many people living in the housing estates. And so to cover a problem, quite literally, because a roof is a covering, to cover a problem with roof repair does just that. It covers the problem. Has this government any plan to alleviate the problem of overcrowding in the housing estates? And when the honourable member spoke in the manner that he did as to the housing estates, I remain optimistic that the honourable member would have addressed that problem of overcrowding. Except, Your Honour, that now the people in those housing estates must remain with the view that the government does not intend to solve the problem of overcrowding in those various estates. I will also say to the government, by way of information, that there are several vacant lots across this country, and there are several lots that are not occupied, or houses that are not occupied. They're either dilapidated or otherwise abandoned, or both. You have the event of death of the parent or grandparent, and you have the event of emigration by the offspring of the grandparent who may have been deceased. There are lots of them. And we have prior hereto recommended that the government needs to have a program of rehabilitation within the existing communities. That is not to reinvent the wheel. It was a program that was done by urban development and rural development for many years. For many years. Has the government abandoned that program, in which widespread rehabilitation occurred within the established communities of Barbados? Has the government abandoned that program? We know, for example, that they have made redundant workers from one of those corporations or both, and that the government is refusing to pay them severance, but that's another issue. The main issue here is that the government is not seriously committed to the problem of the lack of housing for low-income people. That's a very serious problem in Barbados. This Democratic Labour Party expresses a philosophy in which it remains committed to the provision of housing at subsidized costs to the consumer. Like transport, like education, like health, a Democratic Labour Party administration remains committed to a program of subsidized and affordable housing for the working class people of Barbados. I ask through you, sir, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West to disclose this government's record over the last 7 years of famine in relation to the provision of subsidized housing for working class people in Barbados. If the Vesperia Hope Project was intended so to have been, it has failed. The prices of the houses down there escape working class people, even working class couples, both of whom are working. I've made reference already to pool, a failure. This government in 2022, said that it was going to build 10,000 houses. And I remember the then housing minister falling into a state of deep unhappiness when it appeared that a sword was held over his head in the event that he would fail to deliver. And he has not disappointed in that he failed to do that. There's no appearance of 10,000 houses 3.5 years later. There's no appearance of it. So that the government's housing program has been a failure. And I've said that to say that it is not any compensation to this government, and it is not any consolation to the people of Barbados that on the cusp of an undue election, they now promise a few duplex units at Sergeant's Village. What the people of Barbados would hope for, and what a reasonable population expects, is that if a government is serious about its housing program, it would take the 5 years that is given by the electorate and complete the program. Instead, what this government has done, this government has pursued a festival of wild spending of the taxpayers' money. Is the public aware that the ministerial travel bill...
Honourable Member?
Comparison, sir.
Honourable Member, we are dealing with vesting of land. Please restrict.
Yes. And the point being made, Your Honour, the point being made, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West spoke about the provision of housing. And I am responding to the Honourable Member in relation to that point. And the Honourable Member has said that this government is pursuing a program of housing for those of social and financial disadvantage. And we are answering that position taken by the Honourable Member this morning. And we are answering by saying to the Honourable Member, through you, of course, sir, that the people of Barbados need to understand that the reason why this government has not delivered on its housing mandate is because the government has squandered its financial resources on things other than housing. That's the point. And it is not enough for us to make the bold statement, but we are entitled to make the statement that the monies that ought to have gone into housing have been spent in the extent of millions and multi-millions of dollars on ministerial travel, including unprecedented multi-millions spent on prime ministerial travel. 67 people went to Dubai. A large group went to Paris and were seen dining in a high-end
Honourable, that
restaurant.
has no relevance.
That is where the money
Honourable
of
member,
this
I
country...
determined it has no relevance. End of story.
That is where the monies of this country were spent. And this government owes the people of Barbados who are without housing. This government owes them the money that it spent on luxurious travel, including the five-star hotels. The money that was spent to go to Ethiopia for the opening of a dam could have built several houses in this country. We are on the subject of housing. I am on the subject of housing. And to the people in Barbados who have been deprived of low-income housing, I am saying to them today where the money has gone. This is an issue of public finance, and the focus is on housing, and the focus is on the government's failure to provide housing. And I am saying to the people of Barbados who are suffering from the lack of that housing, subsidized housing by the state, is due to this government's misallocation of the resources beyond the $60 million that were taken out of the Housing Credit Fund. Many millions more were taken out and spent on other projects. So the figure is not limited to the 60 million, sir. And in a certain significant presence now. I am challenging the assertion now and invite a response. I am challenging the assertion made in here a few months ago that $4 million was repaid to the Housing Credit Fund. I am challenging that assertion. And apart from challenging it, I am inviting the author of that statement to get up in here now and to say to this Parliament and to say to this Barbados when those monies were repaid, how they were repaid. And silence on the issue would be acquiescence that not 1 cent has been repaid to the Housing Credit Fund. I am going to use plain language. It was an untruth uttered in this Parliament. It was an untruth uttered in this Parliament. That part of the $60 million was repaid. Not a cent was repaid. But I make the other point. I make the other point to Barbadians, and Barbadians need to know and understand this. That this government had access to enough resources to provide subsidized housing for the people of this country. But you know what this government has done to the people of this country? This government has placed the minds of the population into crisis. This government has made the people of Barbados believe that there has been this looming financial crisis attending the affairs of public finance when it suits them. When it suits them, when it suits this government, they say to the people of Barbados that there's not enough money to provide low-income housing. And when it suits this government for propagandistic purposes, they say that the economy has been buoyant. Both cannot be true. If the economy has been buoyant and if there have been 17 quarters of growth, why has not that growth redounded to the benefit of a housing program? And I haven't even spoken of health and education and transport, which I'm not going to do today. we're on the subject of housing. And the point to be made in here today is that housing and low-income housing and access to low-income housing has been decimated by a government which has pursued who says so? All right. I'm finishing now.
Honourable, continue, please. Continue.
Yes. That would teach you all not to interrupt me.
Honourable,
When
please.
they're hungry,
Honourable, please continue.
that would teach them not to interrupt
Honourable,
me.
please continue.
They're hungry, I would have finished half hour ago. 45 minutes ago, I would have finished.
Honourable, please.
They're hungry. I can starve you all.
Honourable, please use your time in relation to the housing resolution
Yes.
and not be caught up in your sides. And not be caught up in the sides, honourable member.
Hungry?
Honourable, not concern yourself.
I will not starve the people of this country of this information. And I will close in saying that the government's housing mandate has been defeated by squandermania, by abuse of power, which relates itself to your phraseology, sir, allegations of corruption. If that is your preferred phraseology, Your Honor, I accept it. And so the government has failed. The government's housing mandate has failed. Ask this government to do a calculation of the promised 10,000 houses, how many have been delivered, except that a previous housing minister was walking around this country photographing himself next to private projects, whether it was 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 houses, walking around trying to reach the figure of 10,000. But I predicted his demise. I did. And he has never lost my sympathy, in spite of the various expressions of personal abuse while I was here or while I was absent. I understand, look, I understood what was going on all along, and I warned him. I warned him about the configuration of this government. I warned him about the concentric circles of power within this government. Beg your pardon, sir?
You got to speak to the honourable member.
To the yes.
Not him. The honourable
Yes,
member.
yes, you, sir. Through you, sir. I warned the honourable member, through you, sir, about the concentric circles of government, the concentric circles of power that characterize this government. And I warned the honourable member, through you, sir, that he was on the outermost circle, not of power, but of office. And that was why his was the voice of Jacobs, but at the center of that concentric circle of power was one person. And the famous phrase, all big works got to come through me. It is a phrase that will not be forgotten, and it extends to the housing program. All big works got to come through me. The people of Barbados will never forget it. The deprivation of the right of a housing minister to function independently according to a mandate. And that is why housing is in the state that it is in. I still sympathize with him, as well as I will reserve some sympathy for the incumbent. But I don't want to predict his failure on this mission. He has the luxury of short time. So the judgment that was made of his dismissed predecessor will not extend to the incumbent. That is the state of this government. That is the state of this government. And the failure is not only about the abuse of power, the failure is about an administration that has not allowed any individual minister to function independently of a place described as all big work's got to come through me. They know it. I want to hear a point of order on it. I want to hear a point of order from any minister in this government, and I'm talking about housing ministers today, sir.
Honourable, please continue.
I'm
please.
talking about the housing ministers in here, present and past. Which of them has been able to pursue a housing mandate to provide adequate housing for the people of Barbados without the intervention of someone self-describing as big works? Who is embarrassed? Who is embarrassed? Who has the courage to admit to political impotence? Who has that courage? And I'm talking about the Ministry of Housing. And I still sympathize with the Honourable Member for St. George South, but my sympathy is not enough. My sympathy is not enough to rescue him from political ignominy. That is where housing stands in this country, and we will not let the people of Barbados forget it. That is where housing stands in this country. So that when I hear the sweet words of the Honourable Minister of Housing today, maybe they're just that. Maybe they're just sweet words. But there's no delivery that will satisfy the people of Barbados that there has been any serious housing program to house the thousands, there are thousands of Barbadians crying out, Your Honor, for adequate housing in this country. This is no joke. And this government has failed them. And this initiative today is only a drop in the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. It is a small token to a few people who will occupy a few duplex units at Sergeant's Village. What about the thousands across Silver Hill, Gall Hill, Deacons, Pinelands, Grisettes, and Eden Lodge? What about them? What about those patriotic Barbadians who live in circumstances of severe overcrowding and that this government has not offered any prescription to alleviate that overcrowding? This government has not done what the Democratic Labour Party will do, which is to say, expand on the present locations and make more comfortable the housing accommodation in this country. And as I've said before, and I repeat, has this government done an audit in the established lived-in communities? And has this government made any effort to replicate what was done earlier in terms of urban, suburban, and rural rehabilitation in relation to housing? Has this government done that? What this government has done is that it has scaled back the operations, or indeed, it has made extinct the operations of the Rural Development Corporation. And so housing in Barbados is no farther advanced now than it was when this government made those promises when this government first made those promises. And so, the judgment, Your Honor, in relation to this government's performance in housing must be that of failure. We say that this government has failed. We say that this new housing minister, a few hours into the job, probably will not wish to take responsibility for it. Maybe that is a valid and legitimate claim. And joining with that valid and legitimate claim, I am still willing to make an excuse for his predecessor and to repeat that whenever we heard his voice, it was the voice of Jacob. And I repeat that the hands that diverted monies away from the Ministry of Housing were not his hands, and that he was fired. He was fired. He was made the poster boy. The honourable member for St. George South has become the poster boy of all the wrong that this government has done in relation to housing. Not that he wishes to plead not guilty, because he was on the job. And he must know what was going on. And I have asked the honourable member through you, sir, whether he will confess that that $4 million was not repaid to the Housing Credit Fund, and that he has the opportunity to give evidence
Sir,
now.
it raised on a point of order. Let's be here the entire day. Sir, not once in the hours that the honourable member has spoken has he mentioned the words sergeants or village or parcels or land, except to say land acquisition. Where we are now, sir, is entirely irrelevant to the scope of this debate. And unless the honourable member, sir, is reined in, we could be here indefinitely.
Continue, Honourable for questions, sir.
Yes. So let me wrap up, sir. Let me wrap up, sir, by reminding, and I will repeat what I said a few minutes ago in relation to sergeants, that it is not, I did say that sergeant, you see, people don't listen. I did say, well, it can't be so tedious if the honourable member for Christchurch East did not hear it, that sergeants is no consolation, and that sergeants will only house a few people. That was said a few minutes ago. But anyhow, I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. But that this government has failed. And I did not wish the predecessor, immediate predecessor, Minister of Housing, to believe that he will walk away unscathed by these allegations. But to the honourable member, I will give the credit that he was not the central author of failure, that he was an accessory after the fact. And you're a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, but we're not talking crime here today. That he was an accessory after the fact in relation to impropriety, financial and administrative, within the housing ministry. It has to be said. It has to be said that the principle of all big works got to come through me applied in the Ministry of Housing. I am to be afraid to say that. When the people in Barbados out there saying it, they're to be afraid too. They're to be afraid to vote, even though they're taking the name off the voting list. But let us come back to housing.
Remember that has no relevance.
Let us come back to housing.
None at all, honourable member.
Yeah, let us come back to housing. Let us come back to housing. That is the principle that has destroyed housing in this country. So that if he wishes a plea...
Honourable member, how soon you're...
I'm finishing right now.
to that.
Give me a few minutes, ma'am. Not 15. I'm finishing right now.
Continue, Honourable Member.
Any points of order, adding 5 minutes
Honourable
for
Member,
point of
continue,
order.
please. All right. Continue, Honourable Member.
Thank you, sir. I am going to repeat. You know, the problem with this government, sir, we are housing. The problem with the house in which this government lives is that they live constantly in fear. Don't mind them coming in
Honourable,
here.
please.
Don't mind them coming in here,
Honourable,
setting and jumping about in chairs.
Honourable
They
Member.
meet on Thursdays and can't say a word.
Honourable Member, please.
Can't say a word.
Honourable Member, correct yourself.
We had a housing program in which the housing minister made no input except to take the blame. But I say today he's an accessory after the fact, and he must take some of the blame. But the blame must go to the heart of authorship. The heart of authorship of a destroyed housing program goes to he or she who described self as big works, and that all big works must come through me. Do you need any greater evidence than that? And them to come in here as leader of the opposition and to conceal the truth from Barbadians? Housing has been a victim of that political philosophy of this Barbados Labour Party government, that no minister will function with independence, and that every minister will function only by reporting to she who describes herself as the author of big works. It was said publicly. It was said publicly. And it is no defamation of character to say outside, nor in here. And I am going to say outside, and I am saying it in here today. In relation to housing, and every minister that comes in here and speaks on his or her ministry, I am going to ask them to give account for their individual and independent stewardship, and I'm going to charge them with having lacked independence in their ministry. And so, we find today, the public of Barbados today finds the predecessor as being guilty as an accessory after the fact in the failed housing mandate. And that the new minister has not accumulated enough time in the ministry to stand with similar condemnation. But to that new minister, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West, the Honourable Member should hope that the election is sooner than that Honourable Member may think. And that this government is attempting to rescue the failure in housing by the calling of an undue election. We have 30 candidates. How many they got? Scrambling all over Barbados every weekend, cursing one another, talking about who walk off the road.
Honourable, please restrict your thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I accept your ruling. Too many lame ducks in the place.
Honourable, please restrict your...
Yes. Too many lame ducks. The chief lame duck quacking the whole morning.
Honourable, please.
Yes. And so, Your Honor, this is another, today's resolution is but another consolation, feeble consolation to the people of Barbados. I will promise the people of Barbados that hope will not be allowed to die, although this government attempted and succeeded by exploiting bad law that constitutes the Public Accounts Committee, with a majority of members of a government and with a majority of members of a cabinet. I don't know who drafted that law. How can you have a public accounts committee?
Honourable member, please.
Yes. How could housing?
You're not talking about housing. Continue.
Housing. How could we have had a public accounts committee investigating housing when the majority of the members of that committee were cabinet members? How, sir? How? The Public Accounts Committee's investigation in relation to housing was destined for failure unless the government members who sat in majority had agreed to have the decency to sit down and let the hearings take place. It would never have taken place with the propensity that this government displayed towards the functioning of that committee in relation to housing, sir. In relation to housing. So, they're going into election. They're going into election and scurrying all over Barbados. Fixing, they're bringing in pothole fixers and all kinds of things.
Honourable member relevance, please.
Yes, sir. Let them bring them in. And really creating a lot of anxiety in Barbados. Rather than take the time to govern, they're driving the entire society into a state of anxiety and instability. And everybody is on edge. Well, the people in Barbados will be called upon very shortly. I finally say, sir, that it becomes a matter of regret that the government's housing program could not have been subjected to the scrutiny of a Public Accounts Committee. I'm talking about housing, sir, not talking about anything else. That scandal could not have been subjected to proper scrutiny. I said it in here last time, I'm going to say it again, I'm not backing off. That the government, through its members, frustrated the attempts of the Public Accounts Committee to investigate the improprieties and the infelicities in housing. That is a matter of fact. Let anybody in here or elsewhere deny that the government members on the PAC were in majority. They were in majority. And it was about survival, not of the fittest, but survival of the majority. Might over right. Survival of those who were politically in majority. And that is why housing today stands without proper scrutiny. This resolution that comes here today will sit within the tradition of governmental infelicity, except, Your Honor, that we will congratulate those persons who are put into those houses. But I need to say this, for the sake of the proprietous conduct of past administrations, as evidenced by those persons, those landowners and householders and house owners at Poole, that persons who were from the community were enfranchised, and that today they live in their houses, conveyed to them by NHC. And tomorrow they will wake up in their houses that were conveyed by NHC. And that hope has been a blot on the public affairs of this country. That hope has been a blot on housing in this country. And that hope is a scandal that has not been repaired by sufficient inquiry and promised investigation of a prime minister who stood up in this chamber and promised an investigation 2 years hence. Where's the investigation? Government, where is it? Tell the people of Barbados that this government promised an investigation into hope and the disappearance of $60 million, and to this day, not 1 cent has been accounted for, not 1 cent has been inquired into, not 1 disappearing penny has been inquired into by this government. And so the people of Barbados will add that to the evidence. I'm finishing, Honourable Member. I'm finishing. You got to hear this first. Let that record in housing become a part of government's general record of failure. And I will not withdraw from any allegations of corruption against this government in relation to housing matters, in relation to the vesting of lands, whether it is Gemmett's Lane or Poulan. This government has a lot to answer for. This government has a lot to answer for. The people of this country, certainly in relation to this government's record in housing, finds this government guilty as charged. Your Honor, I'm obliged to you.
Honourable for St. Michael Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2:45 p.m.
The question is that this honorable chamber be suspended until 2:45 p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 2:45 p.m.